summer transfer window is one of the most important times of the year for a football team. Not only are you bringing in players to try and improve your team, but you're also trying to get rid of players to get a bit of money and just to get rid of players that completely drain your club. That's what I'm going to be talking about in this video. One player every single Premier League club should sell this summer. I'm not going to be using the new promoted teams because they're going to need any half decent player they can get if they want to stay up. Before we do get into it, make sure to leave a like, subscribe, all that YouTube stuff. It helps YouTube push out my video to grow our community and just get a bigger fan base, and also I make a lot more money, which is what I really care about. Right, so starting off with Bournemouth, and I'm going with Mark Travers, who is currently their backup goalkeeper, and this is a purely Irish biased perspective because, well, I want this guy playing regular football. He's not getting that at Bournemouth ahead of someone like Neto. He's a player that's had a lot of success in the Championship with numerous different clubs, including Bournemouth, so I think they could cash in and make him a couple million. I think Travers will want to be playing regular football if he wants to compete to be Ireland's #1. For Arsenal, I'm going with Zinchenko. He's just a complete waste of space, to be honest. I've never really saw him as that good of a footballer. I think people only thought he was good because he was a left back that would go into midfield, and he was one of the first players to do that, so everyone thought he was this revolutionary player. He's alright. Arsenal have brought in Cafiari, so there's another left back added to the team, so I think Zinchenko's role in the team is gone. He's probably a decent leader, maybe. He might cry, I don't know, that might motivate people, but honestly, you could probably make 20 million off him if you sell him to Saudi Arabia. Aston Villa, John Duran, it looks like he's going to leave anyway because, well, he just seems to be begging for it. It's incredible how thirsty he is to leave and join West Ham. He's on Instagram Live making hammer symbol. It's all a little bit weird. Villa are asking for 40 million. Is that worth it? I don't know. But they should definitely be trying to sell him, get that deal done, because it's clear he does not want to be at the club. Brentford, Ivan Toney. I don't think I've ever seen an Ivan Toney interview where he's not talking about another club. Like, he is never talking about how he loves Brentford. He's always talking, oh, my dream is to play for Liverpool. I'd love to play for Arsenal. Yeah, Real Madrid would be class, wouldn't it? Like, he's a good footballer, but who wants that at your club? You know what I mean? Like, he's just always begging to move. You could probably make 50 million from him. Person, when you ask how is he starts talking about his love for, I don't know, Bayern Munich. Bryson, I'm going with Lamptey, a good player, a good fullback who can play right back, left back, but this guy is always injured. I mean, he gets one big injury at least every single season. He's highly rated, people do seem to respect him, but like, in all fairness, you get injured so much, what's even the point of having you around? You could probably get a couple million for him, cash in on him, buy a right back that will actually play every single week, and then there's only benefits and upsides to that. Opposed to having a player that might be brilliant on Tuesday but won't be fit for Saturday. Crystal Palace, I couldn't think of anyone, so we're back to picking Irish players. Killian Phillips, who I don't think has even played for the senior team, but I want him to move on. He played with Aberdeen last season on loan, former League of Ireland player with Drogheda that looked really promising, one of Ireland's under-21's best players. I would like to see him move on. We've seen Jake O'Brien leave Crystal Palace for Lyon, had really good success. He's just moved to Everton. Maybe a similar move to that, maybe move to a different league. He did well in Scotland. I would like to see him move to like Italy or France, one of those kind of countries that aren't quite as high up in the Premier League, but still a good level where he can develop. Everton, Dominic Calvert-Lewin, really the same reason as Lamptey. You know, this guy is always injured. Everton have just brought in that striker that was at Sheffield United 2 seasons ago in the Championship. His name, I have forgot, but he was at Marseille last season, didn't do too good. He's now an Everton player. They have a striker. They also have Beto, who I suppose looked good towards the end of last season. So did Dominic Calvert-Lewin, but he's always injured. He's also just not been the same since Ancelotti left. He's a homegrown player. You could probably get 20-30 million from a club like Newcastle. They could then spend that 20-30 million on another striker who's actually going to be playing every single week and scoring more goals than Calvert-Lewin. Fulham, Adama Traore. I'm not entirely sure, but I would assume this guy is on big wages. He's been at Fulham for a year, I think, and I don't remember him contributing anything. He might have scored 1 goal, 2 goals. You could probably sell him to Saudi Arabia for maybe 10 million. You make a decent bit of money, and you can replace him with a player that's better. Liverpool, I have 2 answers. I think you could sell Mo Salah if he doesn't sign a new contract, because his contract's up next year and you lose him for free. But you could probably sell him to Saudi for 100 million. If I was Liverpool, I would cash in on Mo Salah. 100 million, you profit on him massively and you can go out and buy a really good replacement. But I don't think Liverpool do that. So instead I've gone with Caoimhín Kelleher, who, again, another backup goalkeeper that is Irish, so it definitely is a personal one because of the Ireland connection. But I definitely think Kelleher more so to Mark Travers, because Mark Travers is a player that's really good for the Championship. I think he'd be one of the best goalkeepers in the Championship. Kelleher's good enough to be playing week in, week out in any of Europe's top 5 leagues. He showed that last season when Alisson was injured. I think he should stop being the #2 of the club and move on to maybe a mid-table-ish team where he can be the #1 week in, week out and then contest to be Ireland's #1. Man City, Kyle Walker. That Euro 2024 final was abysmal. I mean, both goals were his fault, and there were incidents like that last season for Man City. He's been a right back associated with being incredibly fast. He's now losing that pace and he doesn't look quite as good. I think it's time to go for Kyle Walker and Man City. I think they can definitely get a better player than them. There's definitely better options. He's a guy that definitely would see him down to go to Saudi Arabia, get a bag, probably get 30 million for him. He'd be on a couple million a week. Man United, Casemiro, this makes so much sense. You know, I don't think he's going to be starting next season. He doesn't have the legs to start every single week, so why are you paying him so much money when he's just not that good anymore? He might put in 1 good performances out of 7 games. That's not really worth it for the amount Man United are paying. You could probably get a little bit of money back, and obviously the biggest benefit, like I've mentioned about 4 times in 12 seconds, he's on such big wages that you just have to get rid of him. Newcastle, Ryan Fraser. Ryan Fraser does not have a good relationship with Eddie Howe ever since, well, what went on at Bournemouth. The Scotsman had a really good season at Southampton on loan last season, had a lot of success. The fans seem to love him, so why not go back to Southampton? Newcastle could probably get like $1 million or $2 million, which isn't a lot, but they got him on a free, so they would be profiting. But I think Fraser is a player that definitely should leave this summer, because I don't think he's going to be getting many opportunities at Newcastle. Nottingham Forest, and we're back to the Irish bias. This one actually makes a bit of sense. Omobama Diele was a really good championship defender at Norwich, was being linked with AC Milan, but Nottingham Forest were willing to spend more money, signed him for 14 million euros last season, and he barely played. I think he made his first start in the FA Cup and scored in that game, and then maybe made a few more Premier League appearances as the season went on, but he wasn't getting that many opportunities. Maybe that changes this season, but if it doesn't, I think he's a player that definitely should be looking to move on, especially considering Jacob Ryan's now in the Premier League. He'll likely be playing every single week for Everton. You also have Nathan Collins, so the competition is definitely high for Irish centre-back. Spurs, Reguilon, it seems like Postecoglou isn't a big fan of him. He wasn't really willing to give him a chance last season, shipped him out on loan. The preferred left-back definitely seems to be Udogie. So Reguilon may be looking for a return back to Spain, might go back to Brentford as well. I think it's a win-win for both parties. Spurs can cash in on him, and Reguilon can get consistent game time. Literally the same reasons for who I'm about to pick for West Ham, and that is Cornet, who barely played last season. I mean, he's barely played since being at West Ham. Now, that's not to say he's been entirely impressive when he has played, but he's not really been given a consistent amount of chances. I think his time in England is over. I think he is good enough to be in Europe's top 5 leagues. I just don't think the Premier League is going to work out. And then Wolves, I'm going with Pedro Neto, which is a weird shout, isn't it? Because he was one of the best players last season, even if he didn't play a lot. But that's kind of the point, and I've mentioned this a lot. An injury-prone player isn't really worth it when you could still probably cash in on him. Now, you're going to look like an absolute fool if the injuries stop being consistent, if that is a possibility. Because Neto is one of the best wingers in the Premier League, at least one of the best young wingers. I think you could definitely find a top club that would be willing to spend 50 million on him. I think he's a really good player. It's just the injury problem that is a bit concerning. I think Wolves would bite your hand off for 50 million to replace him with maybe 2 or 3 new players. I'm after editing the entire video, and I've realised I just completely forgot about Chelsea, because I don't even know how. I had them written down in my notes. I had a player picked out, but somehow I just skipped over them. With Chelsea, there's probably about 30 players you could pick. Lukaku is one, but I feel like that's way too obvious because he's almost definitely going to leave. He's probably already joined Napoli by the time this video is published. The player I am going to go with is another player that was out on loan last season, and that is Kepa, who is the world's most expensive goalkeeper, which would make you assume he's on big wages, and he's probably at the moment Chelsea's 3rd choice goalkeeper. So that makes you think Chelsea really need to sell him. You could sell him for maybe 20, 30 million back to Spain, get those wages off your books, and reinvest that into maybe another 15 youngsters from Brazil that will probably never even play for the club. So that was one player every Premier League club should sell this summer. Let me know in the comments if you want to see me do one player every Premier League club should sign, even though it is a bit late. This video in general is a bit late. We're halfway through the transfer window. But anyway, let me know what you thought of everything I talked about in this video. If you did enjoy, make sure to subscribe. I did a thumbs up. I bottled that. But anyway, make sure to leave a like, subscribe. Thank you all so much for watching. Shout out to all my channel members. I'll see you in the next one.